little bio. I'm Constance Phillips. I live in Perrysburg with my husband and my adult daughter and 3 dogs. If I'm not writing, you'll probably find me in the garden or at a concert, probably Rick Springfield, but anyway. As I was saying about this book, this is the sequel to this one, which is Love Reclaimed. My main character was a foil to the hero in the previous book, and their relationship basically disintegrated as Jack sank deeper and deeper into a bottle. At the end of that book, we learned that Jack had made a plea deal after a drunk driving accident, and this book, family reclaimed, except 45 days later. When Jack passed the sign welcoming travelers and wanderers back to Caseville, his stomach sank. He'd left the town a pariah and didn't hold any illusion his image had improved in his absence. Pulling up in front of the front porch diner gave little comfort. The one friend who hadn't completely abandoned him, Nate Jenkins, owned the restaurant and was a near constant feature.
I'm sorry, but could you read just a little louder? My hearing aids are on the cabinet.
My hearing aids are a little difficult to hear. Larry was 10 minutes late. The call to meet his probation officer at the diner had been an unanticipated twist. The public defender informed him he'd have weekly meetings after he left rehab, but Jack assumed they'd be in the guy's office, not the social hub of the small town. Here he would have the unforgiving stares of his friends and neighbors judging him. He had a lot of work to do if he was going to prove the last 45 days had changed him, and it had. Time and therapy had helped him find focus. He realized the bottle he'd crawled into 18 months ago to hide worked to destroy him. Time to stop running, time to face the demons. First he would set things right with those he'd wronged, then he would go to Atlanta. He'd convince Kaysen to talk to him. He couldn't force her to love him or even like him, but she would not keep him away from his son, not one day more. It was bad enough she'd hid Dalton's existence from Jack for about 3.5 years. He only knew of his son because Kaysen had brought him to her uncle's funeral 18 months ago. A series of taps on the driver's side window drew his attention. He looked up to see who he had presumed was his probation officer. Jack stepped out of the car. "Why are we meeting here?" This worked better for the Crawfords. So this was about small town code. Betty and Sam were neighbors, and there was a correct way to handle things when you hurt a neighbor, especially when they were a cornerstone of the community. He'd paid for the damage to the fence and ticked off every other box the court had asked him to. The only thing left was his community service. What could the Crawfords want from him now except maybe a pound of flesh? He really couldn't blame them if they did. 3 months ago, Jack slipped out of the bar just before closing time and got behind the wheel of his car before the bartender could demand his keys and call his sister to drive him home, like she had so many other nights. One by one, he alienated most of those close to him. He'd hit the cliche rock bottom, and instead of pointing his car toward his house, he headed out of town. The streetlights faded to pitch black darkness enveloped him, somehow offering a comfort he hadn't felt since he was in Kaysen's arms. With a shaking hand, he reached down and unhooked the seatbelt, letting it retract. The trees that lined the road flew by him as his foot pressed the accelerator all the way to the floor. The engine of the Camaro roared. He turned the wheel toward the large oak tree and shut his eyes. At the last moment, he slammed the wheel all the way to the right and moved his foot to the brake. The tires squealed on the pavement, then began kicking up stones from the berm against the car. The airbag smacked him in the face. At the same time, he heard metal crunch and wood smacking against the car. Taking out 150 feet of the wood fence surrounding the Crawford's horse ranch hadn't been his intention. Taking his own life had been.